It's Flo, and this is my impression of a tech-savvy royal family. Yes, ever since the palace became Wi-Fi enabled, it's become so easy to use the Name Your Price tool on Progressive.com. I do agree, my queen. Simply telling it what we want to spend and seeing all our policy options, I'll send a screenshot to Duke, the Duke of Kent. No, my friend Duke. We're in a group chat together. LOL.
It's easy to find insurance that fits your budget with the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
O'Reilly. The next time you need auto parts and accessories, trust the parts professionals at the 30 Raleigh-Durham O'Reilly Auto Parts stores. Our professional parts people know what it takes to get the job done right. Professionals have counted on O'Reilly Auto Parts for decades. Now you can too. Professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Not sure where the technical problems is coming from, but I do know that we are experiencing some technical problems. I do not have my computer on at this point in time, so I do not have a way to message Steve. I've got a in-pit reporter calling here in about 15 minutes.
Can you hear me, Chris?
I can hear you.
All right, could you hear Steve before? Was it just my end?
No,
or
it's
was
jittering.
It
it's blah, 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 blah.
Okay, that was his end, and it was okay. I thought it was my phone. I kept hanging up and everything else. All right, we're okay. We're good then. Steve's dropped his call. He's getting ready to call back in, obviously. So now we figured out what end it was at. I want to put this out real quick before Chris, I'll let you continue on and we get Steve back on the show. I do have one caller on the line. If you are trying to get on the show, make sure you hit 1. That lets us know that you are trying to get on the show. I know we got in-race reporters.
If it's 1311, I told him to call in, but he's just listening. So if it's 1311, just to let you know there.
Now this is a different area code. I'll make sure I look out for that one. But I'm glad we got everything situated. Before we get our guest calling in, because obviously this person is just listening. I think I heard Steve say something about Kevin Harvick. I was listening to some of the interviews earlier today on NASCAR America, and I heard that the first shots were fired with Kevin Harvick saying that he's going to stomp Joe Gibbs Racing in the grounds and everything else. What's your thoughts on that? Is it a little too early to be that cocky, or if you overcame what you had to overcome and you had to win to get in and you had to win to even get to Homestead and you're the defending champion, do you kind of have that right and entitled to kind of have the first shots fired?
I think that in any other sport, like when a football player says we're going to go win the Super Bowl, I think that probably makes everybody on the team cringe. It probably puts everybody into a panic mode. It's definitely something that you would not normally do. But other times, you do have the confident people. I'll take, for instance, Babe Ruth. He picked out where he was going to hit his home run. So, sometimes that is it's a fight or flight type situation with that racer. Obviously, Kevin Harvick would be concerned about becoming the dual champion. I don't think that SHR Stewart-Haas Racing is actually hitting on all cylinders right now. I don't think any Chevrolet camp is hitting on all cylinders. I think for the first time in many, many years, the Chevy camp is outside looking in because most of the time they've been the pretty dominant fashion when it comes down to the chase. I think this time they're unsure because they've seen that the Penske's cars are on their game. Brad's always a threat. Joey is probably the biggest threat too, maybe a Matt Kenseth or a Kyle Busch this year. So I think it more or less comes down from the Chevy camp to Harvick being the defending champion. Harvick's always been known to, flap the jaws a little bit. Of course, he didn't really want to mess with the rooster that one day, but that's old school versus new school. So, but definitely, I think that it probably fits the character of Kevin Harvick. He wants to show people that last year wasn't a fluke, even though it took him, quite a long time to get a championship. As a matter of fact, I do believe that he broke the record for somebody being in the league longer than 10 years and actually getting his first championship. I do believe that was something that he overcome and accomplished. Not that Kevin Harvick hasn't been championship capable for many years beforehand, but I think a lot of what Kevin Harvick's problem was in the beginning years is a lot what we talk about with Kyle Busch. He's his own worst enemy at times, and this could be one of those reflection times where we say, it bit him again.
I see you, Steve. He let me know you was in. I was letting Chris get his point out before I interrupted him, but we got Steve back in the studio. Hopefully we got all the bugs worked out.
Good deal.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Big
better.
Daddy. What are you doing? You sweating, ain't you now,
There we
Big
go.
Sweat, huh?
I was listening in to what you were saying, Chris, and you got a good point. Wear a hat and nobody will see it. But I think it's going to be a exciting chase. Kevin Harvick's about the only one really in the Chevrolet camp that's done anything. So to repeat as champion, I don't think that's that far-fetched. But you're right. It's more Penske and JGR than it is anybody else, and I feel like they're going to be the ones fighting it out down in Homestead.
Yeah, I do too. I agree with that statement as well, Steve. It just seems that maybe for the first time ever, Chevy's looking on the outside of this chase, where Ford's most of the time there in, I wanted to say Pontiac, my goodness gracious, get out of the throwbacks. Toyota wanted to, they've always kind of been the outside looking in team as well. So, it's not so much about Jimmy Johnson right now. I think that Chevy and Kevin Harvick basically had to throw that out there. I read something very interesting in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that really caught me off guard. Budweiser has made an offer to buy Miller Lite. So we might not just have a battle of the beers. We may have some battle of the fears coming from both camps on who could be the one to lose their sponsorship, or if maybe one of them wanted to stay in there. Plus, it would have to go through the U.S. Monopoly system, to make sure that it would have to be approved first by the bankers before they can actually allow that kind of sale to go through, because of the nature of the products being both American-made products, or at one time American-made products. So definitely something to be interested in. It may just be maybe one of those talks, but it was definitely in the Wall Street Journal yesterday.
I remember years ago, talk about a good deal, my dad owned part of a Budweiser distributorship in L.A., Lower Alabama. And they sold some Budweiser down there. So
King of beers. That's where they got the name from.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see who's on the phone. We got somebody calling in. What's your name, caller, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Colby from Atlanta over here.
How you doing?
I do not expect Kevin Harvick to win the championship. I don't expect the Chevrolet to make it to the final. I'm going to be honest with you. I think you're going to see Joey Logano and 3 Gibbs cars. I really do, based off what I've seen this year. The Chevrolets just don't have the power after the rules package change that we've had. And let's just face it, Logano is pretty much the best one that's not a Gibbs driver at this point in time.
I think you're right. I really do, but you can't really, even with a lack of horsepower, you can't really count out Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals.
You can't, can you, Steve? You always come back to that.
They've got more tricks up their sleeve than a New York hooker, and I just wouldn't count them out. I think they're going to pull something out. I was surprised today to see that Jimmy Johnson's birthday today, and he's 40 years old. I met Jimmy, and he drove mine and my dad's late model. I think he was 22 then, and that was before he went ASA racing. So for him to be 40, it kind of makes me feel old.
So he said he's going to do it about another 5 years or so, then he's going to toss it in. So we'll see. But honestly, I think Junior will win Talladega, Harvick will win Phoenix, and I honestly don't know after that. Toyota could win every other race that's in the chase. From what I've seen, well, Jeff Gordon or Jimmy Johnson will win Martinsville, obviously. But
well, if I'm not mistaken, you may be able to fact check me better, but I don't believe since Homestead's existence, Ford always does the Homestead race. I think only the first 2 years, and I'm not even sure if Ford was the backer then, they were actually, there for the championship, except for the Carl Edwards situation, which, of course, we know Tony Stewart won. So I'm sure Ford's probably pretty happy about where they're sitting right now with Logano being a hot hand as he is.
Yeah, definitely so. And Logano ran good at Homestead last year. A botched pit stop is what knocked him out. And a couple of years ago, Brad ran good there, outran Jimmy Johnson in the Homestead race and captured the championship.
In a Dodge. Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to count the two Penske cars out, but I still think the deal's going to be JGR. I think they're going to be the organization to beat.
I have my pick for the championship already lined up. I think Matt Kenseth's going to come back and get his second championship. I really do. Carl Edwards is my second pick. I don't think Kyle Busch can hold it together, and Hamlin has a torn ACL. I see him making it to the second to last round, but if he doesn't win Martinsville, I don't see him making it to Homestead.
And that kind of makes me come a thought here. Maybe Denny Hamlin is the one that we're missing on being the one for the championship because of the amount of stress. A lot of times when these guys are hurt, they drive better than we've ever seen. So in a way, I would argue that comment and say that Denny Hamlin probably is the one. But you made an interesting point with Matt Kenseth, because if we look back in time and history repeats itself, I called Matt Kenseth Iceman, and Steve corrected me and said the real Iceman is Terry Labonte. But if you look at those two careers, it's kind of similar, isn't it, Steve? I mean, it's kind of creepy, because what if he does win the championship? It kind of reminds you of Texas Terry when he won his championship when he was young, and then he didn't win it again until he was older, more seasoned driver.
Yeah, both of them are pretty. They're not flashy drivers, but they're good, solid drivers. They'll give you a good race week in and week out. They're going to be up near the front unless something happens to their car. But I just think when Kyle Busch came back and won that third race, I said to myself, that's it. Chase is over. I said, this man come back, and he's going to go all the way, and then he won another race. So out of the four JGR cars, I would put my money on Rowdy. I think he's got a head full of steam, and he's got something he wants to prove.
I cannot say Kyle Busch will win it because he gets too aggressive, and I honestly think he spiked too early this year. He spiked right in the middle of the year. Plus, Kyle Busch, look at the last three tracks of the year. Texas, we all know he hates Texas.
Yeah, you're right.
That's got
a good point.
Martinsville, he's winless at Martinsville, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's Phoenix. I don't think he's ever won at Phoenix either. I don't think he's won any of the last 3 to 4
So you're saying the tracks don't really go in his favor for the end of the year. So we're basically talking another Jimmy Johnson factor, where certain tracks can get him good, but with the way that this chase is and the elimination effect, it kind of doesn't leave room for the guys to make a mess up. So you're really onto something there as well, caller, by thinking outside the box that these are not generally tracks. Dale Jr. doesn't have a chance because he doesn't run good at these tracks. If we're going on a typical stat sheet predicting who would win the championship. Honestly, it goes in Denny Hamlin's favor or Joey Logano's favor, and maybe Matt Kenseth because he's proven that he can win almost anywhere.
Matt Kenseth at Homestead, he used to dominate that track. Him and Greg Biffle, that's one reason I'm picking Matt Kenseth to win the championship. Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle, when they were at Roush, absolutely owned that track.
Well, once again, Carl Edwards. How can we forget Darian Grubb being his crew chief? How can we forget that he went down all the way to the last race? How can we forget that we've seen Cousin Carl in Victory Lane more this year than we have in a long time? So
it's going to come down to those two.
Sir?
But Carl's won at Phoenix, so he'll be strong there. And I think, he's got something to prove, too. Him and Matt Kenseth aren't the best of friends. And
we've seen that as well this weekend, didn't we?
Yeah. But Matt came over from Roush in the first year. He won a ton of races and contended for the championship. So I think that's what's motivating Cousin Carl. I think he wants to do as good or better than Kenseth did.
I think you're going to see those two go at it in the championship round because both of them are great at Homestead. They both have multiple wins there. I just don't see Harvick with that Chevrolet repeating. He'll win Phoenix, no doubt in my mind, because nobody can beat Harvick in Phoenix. But when it gets to Homestead, I don't see anybody topping those two Gibbs cars. I don't see Kyle Busch winning at Miami. I don't even see Kyle Busch winning in the last 5 races of the chase. After Talladega, I think he can just put a nail in his coffin. He's done.
Once again, though, we go back to grudge match, and it's hard to leave Joey Logano out of that because Joey wants to beat JGR.
That he does.
So, and I think getting married and having a baby has kind of matured Kyle Busch. Maybe he won't be as aggressive now since his aggression has cost him a couple of championships, knocked him out early. So it's going to be real interesting to see. It just everybody in the Joe Gibbs camp, it doesn't seem like they get along with anybody else. They're all lone wolves, so to speak. So
reminds you of the old Hendrick team, doesn't it?
There's a lot of internal competition there, so keep your eye on them.
Who's driving the 22 for Penske that week at Homestead? Is it going to be Keselowski, Blaney, or Logano? Because I think that'll factor in too.
For the Nationwide?
Yeah, I think whoever gets in the Xfinity car, if they're in the Final Four, I think if you run the Xfinity race, it's going to help your chance at winning come Sunday at Homestead.
That's a great point, Steve. Some of these people really do pay attention. I think that's been the problem with Kyle Larson. He's not getting the seat time that he was getting. Even if it was in a sprint car, the fact of it is the more these guys race, the more in tune they are to win.
Well, that's what makes Kyle Busch so good. Is he would run the truck race on Friday, learn about the track, learn what the track was doing, and apply that knowledge to the Xfinity race on Saturday, get more information on the track and everything to back up what he learned on Friday. So by the time Sunday rolled around for the Cup race, he was ahead of the curve on a lot of the other drivers. He had a better grasp of what the track was going to do, how the tires were going to hold up, things like that. And that, I think all that together really helped him. He's not running as much now as he did, but I think that's what made him so strong a few years ago.
Right. Track conditions is probably the most forgot about situation that these drivers deal with every weekend. Just because that track was one way the last time they raced there, it's just like a dirt track. It's going to be completely different. It's either sat there and all the water, the rubber's washed away, or every time you go to a track, something else has carried, some kind of characteristic has come to that track. So I think that does have a lot to do with it, and it does give those drivers a little bit more experience, a little bit more handle on what they're doing.
I don't want to shift directions or anything, but we got a few things we got to take care of. Caller, I want to thank you, first of all, for calling in. We got our first guest that is actually in the studio. I want to go ahead and get him in since we got him scheduled. I also want to make sure that I plug also Snafu Seasoning. Make sure you guys check them out over at www.snafuseasoning.com. That's SNAFU seasoning.com. They help make all this possible. I wasn't trying to cut off the guest or anything, and I'm glad that you called in, and I hope you continue listening. But we got a few people that we got lined up that we got to get into real quick, and Scott is the first one. Steve, go ahead and take over.
All right, caller, you still there?
Yes, sir. Scott's in the studio. The first caller, he went ahead and dropped the call.
Hello.
Caller, stick around. PM one of us your mailing address, and I'll send you a bottle of Snafu Seasoning and let you try it out.
Sure.
Let's see. We've got our first guest on is a gentleman named Scott Stein. He works at Plymouth Speedway in Indiana. He's on the promotional side of it, and he's got a couple of things we're going to talk about that are very important and very interesting to a lot of people. You there, Scott?
Yes, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, sir. How about you?
Another day this side of the sod. I can't complain.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. One of the reasons we've got Scott on tonight is Plymouth Speedway has undertaken a great thing for one of our sprint car drivers. Tell us what we're doing for Kevin.
Well, last weekend we ran what we called our World Series of Dirt, where we have all our regular classes, and we try to bring in a special class every year. And this year it was the Wing Sprint Cars. And we ran the 30-lap feature with the Wing Sprint Cars, called it the Bulldog Strong Kevin Swindell 30-lap feature. And we went ahead and we had it pass the hat through the stands and opened up donations for fans to donate to the Kevin Swindell Recovery Fund. And we collected somewhere around $1,000 on race night, and then I know the donations are still open, and we're not exactly sure what the total is going to be, but it's still open for donations at this point to help the Swindell family with Kevin's recovery.
That's a great thing for a track to do, to really get behind a driver like that and try to help them out. It sounds like y'all are off to a good start. If you can get $1,000 just passing the hat with no people not knowing about it or anything, that's really good. And I feel like that dollar amount will continue to grow as more people find out about it and more people want, that's a terrible injury that Kevin Swindell has endured. I haven't heard anything definite from a reliable source as to what his injuries are. Have you heard anything, Scott?
What they're dealing with is I don't remember the letter and number of the spinal injuries, but there's two broken, and they were able to fuse one with bone from another part of the body, and they're looking at that. But the thing is, we've got more than our fair share of practice at these, and the thing that's going to happen is it's going to take somewhere between 3 and 6 months for the swelling to go down and the actual damage, long-term damage, to be realized. And so that at this point is just kind of a waiting game, trying to keep the muscles limbered up and keep the bed sores and things like that from creeping in as he's not able to freely move at this point. But it really is just a wait-and-see game, and it's probably going to fall right around January or so that they'll have a little bit clearer picture of what his long-term prognosis is and opportunities for recovery.
Well, I'm glad. I saw a post on Facebook with Tony Stewart in the hospital room with him, and Kevin had a smile on his face. He looked, I don't want to say he looked comfortable, but he looked like he's accepted what's happened and he's ready to get on with physical therapy and probably get back in a race car as soon as he can. I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, but I'm sure it's on his mind.
I think that's his reason for living.
Yeah, definitely so. That's what he wakes up for day in and day out, and I'm sure now he's waking up thinking, hurry up and get here, therapist, I want to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing, and I'm just, number one, I'm glad he's alive, and number two, I'm glad he's got a shot, a good shot at coming out of this and getting healed, and getting back. I don't know if he'll ever get back to the way he was, but he can get close.
Yeah. A few years ago when Shade Meal went cage first into the fence over at Terre Haute and suffered his injuries, he was able to regain a significant, portion of his dexterity and things like that, but it gets to a certain point that the body just, it's broken. And that's what Shane has found out, and his outlook on life and things like that with the 56 Great Clips cars and that kind of thing. He's living life and attacking it head on like he always has, just with a little bit of a different angle on it. so to speak. And that's, we absolutely, everybody hopes the absolute best. I'd like nothing more than to walk up to Kevin Swindell walking up to me next year. But if that's not in God's plan, then we accept what it is and we move on with it, because we're not going to change it. That's for sure.
Yeah, speaking of Shane Neal, I saw a post on him a couple months ago, and he was standing up. Mm-hmm. And they were, he's going through physical therapy, and he's been in this condition for a couple of years now and hasn't given up yet.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you'll be able to listen to the show.
Wouldn't you agree, Chris? Hello? Anybody
still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
hello?
Hey, Steve.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
I hear you.
I was actually outside the studio here for a minute, Steve. What I'm doing is arranging the in-pit reporter. So I've been in contact with them to hold them back. So I completely missed. I know we're talking about Kevin Swindell, and trust me, there would be nobody that would be more happy to see Kevin come back in full strength than the Yellow Caution Flag camp. But definitely, I know he's got a long way to recover.
Yeah, it's going to take some work, and we had touched on Shane Neal, that he's really working the therapy and really trying to get his
he's an inspiration. He is, Steve, definitely. Shane is an inspiration, and we follow him and his mother on Facebook, and just the progress, and he's done already what people said he could never do again. So we definitely don't want to take away from what he's accomplished.
And for those that don't know, Shane's father, Steve Neal, was Mark Martin's crew chief early on when Mark was at Ralph's Racing. And Steve he's a hell of a crew chief. He's real sharp on handling and everything. The amazing thing is we've talked about Kevin, we've talked about Shane Neal, two gentlemen that are not exactly all there. They're having physical problems, and that's going to tie us into another driver having the same problems but doing a little bit better. His name is Eric Saunders. Tell us about him, Scott.
Eric Saunders is a mini sprint, 600cc mini sprint racer there at my track at Plymouth Speedway. And about 4 years ago, he grew up in motocross. Tony Stewart actually owned his motocross stuff. And when he was about 17, I think it was, Eric suffered a practice crash incident and broke some stuff in his back, and he's paralyzed from the chest down. He adopted the mantra of "I can, I will," and about a year or so later, when he was able to start regaining the ideas of what he was going to be able to do, they got 600cc mini sprints, and they fitted with hand controls. Randy Sweet up at Sweet Manufacturing adopted hand controls for him, and he runs a 600cc mini sprint off of hand controls, and he's won 6 features at Plymouth Speedway this year, including the one Saturday night as part of the World Series of Dirt. He's in a spike chassis, and it's a potent little car, but he's the nut behind the wheel that makes it happen. He's got a veteran crew chief and a guy by the name of Dave Bice that Dave has raced for a lot of years and is able to watch the car and kind of get feedback, because with Eric's reduced sensitivities below the chest, he's not able to have that, that seat of the pants feel that we always talk about.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that. So they're able to, between the two of them, discuss what the car is doing, what one man's seeing, what the other man's experiencing as what he can. But they've been able to put that car out in front. They had a couple of DNFs and mechanical ills this year, cost them the championship, but they were by far the dominant car week in and week out when they were able to keep it all together. But Eric, as a person, is going through a metamorphosis of his life and things like that. He's now 22 years old. He's excited, about life, and he wants to tell his story. He wants to move out and be be a bigger influence to other people. He wants to adopt the idea of these hand controls and fine-tune those. He does have a ride actually for the Chili Bowl. I believe
That's
he's
great.
going to be in one of the Seymour cars, in the out of the Northeast for the Chili Bowl this year in a midget. It'll be his first time in a full-size midget. But they're gonna fit the hand controls and things like that, and they're gonna tweak on it a little bit, and hopefully have a good run of fun anyway out of the Chili Bowl in Tulsa this year.
He's won 6 features this year.
He has won 6 features this year. He won his first one at the end of last year, but he went on a tear, and is just they've got the car happy, they've got the driver happy, and it's moving out. They're looking really strong. Pretty much didn't want the season to come to an end when it did, but we're going into some renovation and uplifting it at the Speedway, so we kind of cut our season a little bit short. But boy, they sure wanted to go. They wanted to go a couple more weeks into the fall if they could. So they're out traveling to like Miami County Speedway down in Peru, Indiana, over to Logansport to US 24 Speedway, little 8-mile dirt tracks that run these mini sprints. Just having a ball. So a good deal all the way around for that young man. But he's he's one that just I can, I will. I'm not going to give up. And he's told me that he's watching closely what Kevin Swindell's situation is, and he like all the rest of us, hope for the very best. But whatever the prognosis is in the long term for Kevin, Eric's a big fan of Kevin Swindell's, and he's looking forward to racing with him one day, one way or another.
That's pretty inspiring what he's done, and it says a lot for his crew chief too. Here's a driver that, like you said, can't drive by the seat of his pants. The only feel he's got for that race car is in the steering wheel, and so he's got a crew chief that's very experienced that can read the tire temperatures and watch his car go through the corner, and he can determine how the car's handling just from that and make the adjustments, and then with the driver's feedback know whether he went the right way or not. It sounds like he's got a good combination going, and I wish him all the best. Next time you talk to him, let's see if we can get him on the show so we can talk to him in person, because he sounds like a pretty interesting guy that's got a lot to say.
Yep, I'll get you guys information back and forth, and we'll make that happen. Absolutely.
So that'd be great. Like I said, I'd really like to talk to him and everything. Mm-hmm. Plymouth Speedway, I'm not familiar with, but it sounds like a great place that y'all do a lot of extracircular activities outside of just holding a race, but
I
really
like that one, Steve.
Your races.
Extracircular activities. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm taking that one. I'm
out.
claiming that one myself.
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about the track, Scott. What size is it, and the banking and all that?
Well, we opened as a pavement track back in the mid to late 50s, and just located about 25 minutes or so south of South Bend, Indiana, about an hour and 45 minutes north of Indianapolis. A short 3/8 pavement track, and we were pavement up until about the 2010-2011 season. We put in a short infield dirt track, and so we had dirt track and pavement on the same piece of ground, and then we ran somewhat with that, and Tony Stewart come by one day to run the race, and he said, I can't wait to come back next year when you got the dirt all the way to the walls. Fans went nuts. We looked at it and said, we probably ought to do that. So we went ahead and put dirt over the whole facility in 2013, and we haven't looked back. It's been a learning process. At one point, we had 7 pavement tracks all running on Saturday nights within 90 minutes of us. and we were just splitting car counts up. You know, we couldn't keep doing what everybody else was, so we were the first ones to jump ship, and we went ahead and we went to dirt. 25 years ago, over in Warsaw, Indiana, there was a Warsaw Speedway that was dirt. It closed. A few years later, there was a track up at Avila that was dirt, that was pavement back and forth. It ended up closing. So we were really kind of at a void for dirt tracks in northern Indiana. Crown Point Speedway closed, and so we were out of dirt tracks. And so we saw the need for it. We brought it in, and it's been successful. We've had growing car counts every year. The fans really have embraced it. We've carried over 12 to 15 probably drivers from the pavement days over to the dirt track days, and we've brought in a bunch of guys that are dirt track guys. The fan base, we've brought in some new fans, but a lot of the pavement fans from Plymouth Speedway have stayed around. It's just a mix of old and new, and we're into some really good play right now that we found that we're trying to get a good grip on. But all in all, it's been a good season of racing. We run the UMP Modifieds as our weekly headliner, and then we ran a Super Street, which is a high-end street stock, and then Thunder Stocks, which is a lower-end street stock. We run the 600cc mini sprints on the infield 8th-mile track, and then we were running the front-wheel drive cars this year as well as the entry-level division. We had 5 classes weekly, and then we would add, when we brought in the wing sprint cars or the non-wing sprint cars, things like that, all our 5 classes still ran, plus the touring division. So we had a full plate of racing. $12 for the regular 5-division show. We'd bump it up to 15 or 20 when we brought in a premium upper division. And we were averaging over 1,000 fans a night. And it's just been a great season. We lost a couple of events to rain, but we made them up the following week. Things like that. So it's just been a dynamite year all the way around. Our weather hasn't been too hot, hasn't been too cold. It's just been a really good season of racing for us at Plymouth Speedway. We've really done well this year all the way around.
That's great. Chris, you know as good as I do, there's been a lot of rain washing out a lot of races so far this year. It just seems like Monday through Thursday it's fine, and then it rains on Friday and Saturday and knocks everything back out. Y'all had that problem down in Mississippi?
Yes, we've had that problem for 2 or 3 years now. We've kind of learned to accept it. It is what it is. You can't control Mother Nature. But I tell you one thing that these tracks have tried harder this year. A couple of years ago when the rain first started, we've been in a drought for 6 years, so, the rain was not something we were expecting. I think that tracks are really working harder now. Just because it gets a little moisture outside doesn't mean that we're going to call a race. I think a lot of it has to do with now what type of payouts you're having at the end of the night, how many cars are coming from out of town that could be affected. And if it's just a weekly racing show, you do everything you can to get in the show for your guys. It's really you're not going to make any money if you let Mother Nature take control and it's nice and sunny at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, even though it rained from 12 to 3. A lot of times if you can keep the pits right, you can get the show in.
Chris, you hit on something right there. We built early in the season. We built the reputation as not being afraid to run against the weather. We'd look out to the south, look out to the west, see the clouds coming, but we didn't pull the plug on the show until the rain took the racetrack from us. Because what we had was guys coming from other racetracks. Eventually, the word got out. If there's any way that we can race, we're going to Plymouth, because Plymouth won't call it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for a chance of rain. It's got to rain before Plymouth will call it, and it has given us positive car counts every single week because the guys knew that they would race at Plymouth absolutely to the last minute.
That's a good reputation to have, to let racers know that you're going to try to run regardless. If there's any way to do it, y'all are going to try to do it, and that speaks a lot for Plymouth Speedway.
And right there, you're right on key with that, Scott. It really does. When we're not so much of a home track for a lot of our drivers. We have a lot of out of towners. that come to Hattiesburg Speedway. And when you give them the confidence that you're going to do everything you can to get that race in, even on the 2 or 3 times where we've had to call it, they much appreciated our diligence to keep that race in. And so it really does go a long way with the racers, and I think that you earn a couple of homeboys or, track heroes by doing that.
Yep, I agree with you completely.
Yeah, definitely so, because if you're running, these guys that come from other tracks, they start learning your tracks, and then they're like, well, hey, let's go to Plymouth. We've run there before and run good. So that helps build your car out and everything all the way around. Scott, we'll take a minute. Give a shout-out to anybody you want to, the track sponsors, anybody you want to recognize. Go ahead and give them a shout-out.
Well, I'll tell you, the big people we need to thank is we actually have a local golf course, believe it or not, that sponsors 2 divisions of race cars with us. It's Swan Lake Resort. They sponsor our UMP Modifieds, and then their restaurant and bar sponsors our 600s. And Todd Hovermail and that group over there has done an awesome job helping us. On Tuesday night, they have a burger night. They have $5 hamburgers. We go in there and eat and kick back, relax, unwind, do a little bench racing on Tuesday nights over there. But then we've also got the local radio station, WTCA 1050 AM, does a great job helping us out. The local Walmart sponsors the division. We've really tried to interact with the community, to be involved with the things that aren't necessarily, the body shops, tow truck companies, and that kind of thing. It's really, we try to stay mainstream with our help and things like that, our marketing partners. But we are, it's Plymouth, Indiana, and Plymouth, Indiana's Big Purple. It's the home of Hoosier Tire, and the Newton family has been instrumental for decades helping us out. So I've got to thank Marge and the family and Scotty Merrill and all of them for being involved and supporting us out there at the racetrack. It's just really neat having a worldwide marketing people like that you look up and they've got somebody, a big name somebody just wandering through on a Saturday night, and it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. It's not always circle track or sprint car guys. I've some drag racing guys, some road race guys, some kart guys, go-karts and things like that. It's just all sorts of people just wandering through because, well, they're in town for a whatever. And Hoosier Tire has just been phenomenal over the years, helping us keep things on the right track, so to speak.
Well, learn something new every show. I knew Hoosier Tire was in Indiana, but I didn't know it was right there in your hometown. That's pretty neat deal, too. While we're at it, let everybody know how they can follow you and follow what's happening at Plymouth Speedway on social media.
Absolutely. We're on Facebook. We're Plymouth Speedway on Facebook. Of course, it'll pull up, a couple things or something like that, but we're right there in Indiana. The website is www.plymouthspeedway.net. And we keep all our race updates and things like that. Being finished with the year, the next big thing to come along there is going to be our construction, our renovation and upgrades to the facility. We're going to be putting a ton of pictures on there, a ton of video and that kind of thing, because we've got really ambitious plans going into 2016, and there's a lot of people kind of close to me that don't believe that we're going to accomplish what it is we're going to accomplish, but we're going to do it, Steve, and that's the trick. We've got to prove to it, people, literally as you're doing it, that it's happening, and we're looking forward to that.
There you go. That'll give you a little bit more motivation. Just want to prove them people wrong. Scott, I hate to cut you off, man, but I got a couple on the phone and another guest coming in the studio. I do appreciate you coming in and telling us about Plymouth Speedway. Very glad to hear y'all trying to help Kevin Swindell out. That's big. That's really big. And
absolutely.
We'll try to get in touch with Eric Saunders, and maybe I can get him both same night.
Sounds good, guys. I appreciate your time, and you guys have a good night of racing, and we'll catch up to you real soon. Thanks a lot.
All right. Come on, Scott. It was good talking to you.
Thank you.
Steve, we got we got a few people in the studio. Well, what I'll do is we got a special guest that wants to say hey to everybody in the studio, so I want to get him in real quick. And we got our in-pit reporter and our next guest in the studio as well. So let's go ahead and get the special guest so you can shout out real quick. Caller, you're on. Okay, how's it going, guys?
Glad to be here. How about yourself?
All right, Big Fred. Hey, this is Big T.
Oh, my man, Big T. How you doing, bud?
All right, man. I'm doing good, man. I was just wanting to call in and say hi to everybody, and I was listening to the show, and tell you it sounds good, and you guys are doing a great job. Like I said, I'm just right up the road from you. We like hometown boys, you know.
Yep. I've known Big T and I have raced together and been friends since he was Little T and I was Little Sweat. We were and they don't call him Big T for nothing. He's a good man to have covering your back at the racetrack. Trust me on this. What track? Tell us what track you usually hang out. Your home track. Tell us about it a little bit, Big T.
Okay. Yep. I live in North Carolina, and I hang out at Orange County Speedway. That's in Rougemont, North Carolina. It's a 3/8-mile track, asphalt. And I've raced there, worked there, spent most of my life there since I was about 7 years old. And so I've been involved with racing, you know, pretty much all my life, and my family has too. We kind of got out of it because, you know, the money situation, we didn't have a lot of sponsors. But we forked out the money ourselves out of our own pocket, and you know how that can be. But in that meantime, that's when I met you, Big Sweat, you know, and we started talking, and we've been friends ever since. And but Orange County Speedway, it's a fast track, and that's where I hang out at, and I try to get to all the NASCAR tracks that I can. But you're talking about the Outlaws out west in Indiana, Plymouth, Indiana. In the early 90s, I went out to Iowa, and I went out to, I'm not sure the name of the track, but it was in Ottumwa, Iowa, and I saw some of the greatest outlaw racing that I had ever seen there. And it's been a long time since I've seen that racing again, because we could go down to Charlotte maybe or see some of the guys come out there and race, you know, with the Outlaws. But right around in my area here, we don't have a lot of the Outlaws. But anyway, they put on a good show, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely, sprint cars really put on a show. Now that you're not racing, I know you're deer hunting. It's about time for season to run around, isn't it?
You got that right. Yeah, I love it. I'm a big deer hunter, and I'm always looking for that big one. But yeah, we're gonna have to get together, Big Sweat, and I'm always like listening to you guys and listen to the show, and you know, we got our NASCAR and Other Racing on Facebook, and we love our race fans, and we continue to keep doing good there and getting all the fans we can get, because we love racing, I love racing, and I'll always love it.
Definitely so. Big T, I appreciate you calling in, bud. And
yes, sir.
Save me a couple pounds of deer meat for my chili I make.
Okay, I'll be getting with you now. I'll hit you up, man, and I'll be talking to you, okay? And the rest of you guys, y'all take care, and I'm always listening, and good luck with everything, okay?
Yes, sir. Big T.
All right, keep on racing. Keep on racing, buddy. All right, man.
That's Big T, Tony Richard, good friend of mine. I see the boards lighting up. Who else we got in the studio?
Next we got our in-pit reporter. We want to go ahead and get them on. Then right after that, we got Ryan hanging out in the studio, and we'll get him on the show.
Good deal. Tell Ryan to hang on just a minute, and let's chat with the pit reporter for a second.
All right, now coming on the board here now is Erin Holly from YellowCautionFlag.com. She's at Why Not Motorsports Park for the state championship race this weekend. Erin, you hear us loud and clear?
I hear you loud and clear.
This is your debut on a radio show. I don't think you've ever been on one before, have you?
No, sir, I have not. This would definitely be my first time, and it's quite nerve-wracking, to be honest with you.
Now, Erin, how many cars is that? Go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry, is this the same young lady that you guys posted a video and she was doing an interview with one of the drivers?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. I just want to put a face with a voice.
That's right.
Oh, man. Erin, part of our deal here on Racing with Big Sweat, we get all our first-time callers. You have to sing your state fight song, so bring it up, let's hear it.
Oh, no, y'all don't want me to sing.
Give them a roll tide, darling. Miss Holly, how many cars are there, and what's the big weekend?
Here I would have to say we have an estimated around 35 cars. 35, roughly 40. It's a good car count for sure.
And this is for practice, right? What's going on this weekend?
Well, right now we're going on into practice. We have currently we have actually Monty Skinner going on to the track right now, and he's going to run his laps, test out his tires. And then for the next 2 days, which is going to be Friday and Saturday, we're going to have a night full of some action-packed racing.
Good deal, Lucille. I have got
now,
to
is it very many street stocks or modifieds? What seems to be the heavier car count?
Well, we actually have quite a good count of hot shots and modifieds. Brooks Strength, Monty Skinner, we have quite a few of those cars. But as of right now, I think we have quite a few modifieds outnumbering everybody.
Good deal. That's a UMP modified series there, Steve.
That's great. I like watching those cars run, too. Let me ask you, Erin, what got you interested in round track racing? What was your beginnings?
Well, I got my beginning there just being a kid on the sideline, watching them race, towards the checkered flag. The adrenaline of it, just the air of the community and the family fun of it is really what got me into it. And just now being able to walk around and interact with all the drivers and get to know their background stories is definitely worth it all. It's definitely something that I would want or recommend people would be getting into with their families.
I have a quick question, and it's kind of off the wall, but it's related to her and what she does. She said it was rather nerve-wracking to come on the show. I watched the video, and that's why I asked that question. You seem to be very calm and very confident in what you were doing. So as being a reporter, how does being on the radio seem to be more nerve-wracking and then doing it in front of a camera? I'm just curious because I've got to experience you both ways now.
Well, being the interviewer, I kind of have more of a feel of the questions that I will be asking, kind of more of how the conversation will be going. Being on the radio,
Gotcha.
I'm kind of behind the scenes. I don't really know what will be asked or, anything else like that. So I'm nervous, but I'm going with the flow of it.
That's cool. I'm just curious because I watched the video and you seem like a natural, so I just, it kind of, I don't know.
A young champion, CJ, a young champion. She's been... She wasn't thrown into the fire. We kind of have laid out a map for her to grow within the industry, to grow within our company. And I tell you, it's just like she's doing right now. She's adapting to the situation, and she's being very coherent and explaining things awesome. It's really, we underestimate what these young people can do for our sport, I think, so many times, CJ.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely so. I still want to hear her sing. Erin, it's really neat talking to you, and since you're following stuff down there at Wyatt Speedway, call back in. Let us know what's going on. If you talk to anybody or got any good stories to tell, call us back and come on the show and tell us what's happening down there at the racetrack. Can you do that for us?
Yes, sir. Sure can.
Tell everybody how they can keep up with you on social media while we got a minute, and then we're going to go on to our next guy in the studio.
Okay. I post all my pictures on Facebook under the name of E.Holly Photography. That's where you'll catch all your action shots, pit shots, just the family shots of the drivers and the fans all, enjoying the dirt life. We post our videos onto Yellow Caution Flag pit, and you can keep up with all the news feed with Chris Creighton at Yellow Caution Flag.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the videos that Yellow Caution Flag has posted before, and that's pretty interesting, and it's good camera work. Well, Aaron, like I said, call us back sometime and let us know what's going on. We love to hear about dirt, so keep us informed and keep up with us, and I really appreciate you coming on. It's nice talking with you.
Well, yes, sir. I quite enjoyed it myself. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you later then. Bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Rolling right along on this cattle drive, let's bring our next guest in. This young man is a hot shoe from Texas who not only runs asphalt late models, he also races asphalt modified. So he's got his hand in a little bit of everything, and he's down in Pensacola, Florida this weekend running a big money race down there. So let's hear what's happening there. Please welcome Flying Ryan Luza. Ryan, you there, bud?
I'm here.
Good deal. Glad you could make it in with us. First thing I wanted to ask you, how old are you?
I'm 19. I turned 19 about a month ago into August.
Cool deal. I knew you were young, but I wasn't sure exactly how young. What's your home track down in Texas?
Houston Motorsports Park is the closest one, but it shut down this year, so we haven't been doing too much racing there. Yeah, we ran 3 races that were scheduled, and then it shut down, and that was racing the modifieds. So now the closest track right now is in Austin, Texas. And that's about a 3-hour drive. So, Houston is about 30 minutes. So we're having to drive a little bit further to go race, but that's okay. We love it enough to go do it, especially coming down here to Pensacola.
Yeah, definitely. So how's the weather in Pensacola?
Oh, it feels good. We're not quite in Pensacola yet. We made a little pit stop here in Mobile. They're inside eating some Hooters, and that way I could do my interview without a bunch of people talking in the truck.
Good deal, Lucille. What got you into racing? How young were you when you started, and what class did you start in?
I was 5, maybe a little younger before I turned 5, but me and my dad and family, they've been involved in racing for, however, just, that's what they're interested in, and we went to some go-kart races in Waller. There used to be a bunch of dirt tracks anyways, and unfortunately those have shut down as well. But we started doing go-karts, and 5 years old, we did good locally. And, 8, 9, or 10, we started going nationally, doing some go-kart races and doing really good. And, we just kept stepping up, step to step. So from go-karts to Bandoleros, which I did not like. I don't recommend Bandoleros to anybody. And then to a legend car, which was really fun. And now we're doing Pro Late models and Pro Modifieds.
Yeah, Legend car is a good car to learn in because the power to weight ratio is so high you can't just mat the accelerator to come off the corner. You got to learn to really work the throttle. How you race modifieds and you race late models? How much difference is there between the two of them on pavement?
There's quite a big difference. We're running the same motor, so there's no difference as far as power, but you got to think about on late models we run a 10-inch slick Hoosier tire, but in the modifieds you only run 8-inch tire. So it's a lot less grip, and you got to adapt because in a late model you can probably drive into the corner a car length or two harder because you have that wider tire and it sticks more, as well as the late model weighs about 250 to 300 more pounds. So it's a little bit of an adjustment, but I like to think I'm making the adjustment well.
Sounds like it. How's your season gone with the late model so far?
We're doing great this year in the late model. We're running mainly for points here at Five Flag Speedway. We've had, I believe, 7 races this year. We've had 3 wins, actually 3 wins in a row now, and our worst finish is 4th. So we got a good points lead. We're down here for the final regular season weekend. For the championship, we have a 74-point lead to be exact, and we're looking to close it out here.
Good deal. I wish you all the luck. Sounds like you've been spanking some ass down there at Five Flags. I didn't mean to say that. Not.
Yeah, that's great.
So what's your future plans? What are you hoping to shoot for?
Really, super late models, the Southern Super Series type deal, or ARCA or K&N. But really, the situation we're in right now, it just all depends on sponsorship. I'm so sure you hear it all the time, but, you just got to have sponsorship in racing because it's so expensive. So we're just, trying to impress at this level, hoping to get seen, maybe pick up a big sponsor, and from there, we can take it even bigger next year, and that's really the goal right now.
Good deal. Tell your Uncle Eddie to get off that pocketbook, help you out.
Yeah. He ain't doing too well right now. I know he hurt his knee at work or something, so he's been at home for a while, but I definitely miss him at the racetrack, and he'll be coming out this weekend for the big week.
Oh, that's good. He's like, from what I've seen on Facebook and everything, he's like your biggest supporter. And I wanted to give a shout out to him. He keeps me informed as to what you're doing, and tell him I said hi and tell him I appreciate all the info. So you're looking to go up into K&N. Do you anticipate much difference between that series and what you're running now? I know they do a little bit more traveling and everything. What's your feelings on that?
I really think we can excel. I mean, we've excelled at every, step to this point. It's going to take adapting, just like everything you do in racing. A little more horsepower, heavier car, more like a stock car. So that'll take a little bit of getting used to, but I mean, I'm ready for the challenge.
I bet you are. Are you going to stay in Texas, or are you going to do like most everybody else and move to North Carolina to Charlotte?
Oh, I don't know right now. I'm attending a community college here in Texas. But if the opportunity presents itself, I will pack up my bags and move straight to North Carolina in a day. So I'm ready. Whatever it takes is what I want to do.
They wouldn't have to ask you twice, huh?
No, sir.
He's a cool kid, isn't he, Chris? And I don't mean kid in a negative way. I'm just, I've got Levi's older than you. A bit of an age difference there. Tell us what's on your mind, Chris.
Oh, nothing. Just great to see another young talent. He's right down the road from us. If he's going to Five Flags, so good luck to him. Definitely, he's within our region. We haven't made it down there yet, but we're going to make our first asphalt tour for the Snowball Derby this year. So hopefully he'll be over there as well.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, we'll be down there for we're not racing the Snowball. We'll be running the Snowflake. So hope to see you guys there.
Good deal. Yeah, we'll have our media crew out there as well. So hopefully we'll get in touch with you there.
Awesome.
Yeah, there'll be some competition in the Snowflake and in the Snowball. I've always heard that
they have.
I've always heard the most dangerous place to be down there doing the Snowball and Snowflake is in the pits because there's so many cars and everybody going around. So it's safer on the track than it is off the track.
Oh yeah, they cram us in like sardines for sure.
Yeah, I've always heard that, and always heard you got a big tire bill when you go down there too.
Oh, for sure. We do our best to keep it at a minimum, though.
Yeah, well, that's the only way you can race, really, unless your last name's Hendrick or Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
What do you said you were going to community college. What are you studying now?
I'm pretty much doing just the basics. Like right now I have English 2, history, and calculus. But I plan on doing mechanical engineering, or at least getting my associates out of the way. And that way, if the racing doesn't work out, I can go do some mechanical engineering and hopefully work on a race car or something, because that's where I envision myself. I want to be involved with racing because I love it so much. So if I can't be a race car driver, I might as well try to work on some race cars, right?
That's right.
There you go.
Definitely. And mechanical engineering is in high demand in sprint in all three of the top tiers, really. If you've noticed, there's a lot. They're not hiring and promoting pure track people, the old-style crew chief. Now the sport has shifted to having a crew chief who's an engineer and can make things work better and understand how things work and everything. When I was crew chief and we didn't have computers or anything, you just walk down in the closest corner and watch your car go through the corner and determine what it's doing there along with the driver's engineering. And now they've got programs and engineers figuring things out and everything, so the sport's advanced. That's a very good deal you got going if you want to get into mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering and welding is about the two biggest demands in stock car racing now.
So when do you decide that that's the direction that you'll go? Or are you going to still wait it out a few years to see what will happen?
I really don't know, but as of now, just keep going on the track that I'm on. I can keep taking some classes and just slowly work towards it. I'm not taking a full plate because it'll be a little bit too much, but I'm taking more than half. I'm taking 3 classes right now this semester, so it's not too much. I can at least continue racing, and I see us doing it for at least 2 or 3 more years, but really I'm just hoping for that break. And if need be, I can go back to school, later, but just really looking for that break, trying to find some sponsorship, whatever it takes.
And if I'm mistaken, you're still one series down from the late model class, right?
No, we're running pro late models, just not a super late model. It's just engine difference, really.
Okay, so it's a little bit lower series, or kind of equal to.
I'd say, yeah.
If somebody doesn't understand the pro and the super, what are the differences in the two?
About 150 to 200 horsepower, and they have different brakes, and that's about it. It's the same chassis, tires, everything else is the same other than the motor and the brakes.
Damn, I didn't know that. I thought there was more difference in them than that, but that's interesting. Oh, are they perimeter chassis?
Yes, sir. And the same type of builders build both cars. You got Port City, Hamke, Grill cars. We could take our car and convert it to a super late model, and really the biggest cost is the motor. Just little stuff here and there. There's really not a big difference involved in them.
Whose chassis do you run?
We run a Port City chassis.
Yep. I had known Roger Hamke years ago when I was racing, and I'm a pretty big boy, and I was then, but that guy scared the hell out of you talking to you. But he is sharp. He can build a chassis, and he can tell you how to make that chassis work. And I've heard the same thing about Port City. I've heard about Port City for a number of years, too. And there's a lot of good chassis builders out there, so if everybody's on top of their game with the chassis, what puts you in victory lane compared to the other people?
I'd say set up. You got your springs and shocks and advanced stuff. So you got the bump stops, and you put them on the gale force machine and figure out load numbers. It's like you said, it's all high tech compared to what it used to be. And just trying to get the car to stay as close to the track as it can without hitting it. You don't want it to get too loose off the corner. And just everybody's so close out there. Any, half a tenth to a tenth makes a difference in winning or being fifth. So the car's got to be really good, and we're going to have really stiff competition out there. I heard Sterling Marlin's coming down, so that'll be really cool to race against him this weekend.
I did. I seen that post the other day. That's really cool. Love to see Sterling out there turning that wheel.
Yeah, I had seen that too. Sterling's a pretty big racer up in Nashville, and he does real good up there, and he travels to some of the big shows too. So basically what you're saying, Ryan, is it comes down to the driver more than anything else. The guy that doesn't make a mistake or is on his game is pretty much the one that's going to be out front with everybody else being equal.
Oh, for sure. A lot of it comes down to driver, but, I'm not saying setup isn't important. It is. But, everybody out there has basically the same car. Just depends on who is more onto the track that day. Who's best, with the temp, it makes the track slicker or, more gripped up. Whoever just keeps up with the track and makes adjustments through practice. You just got to stay up with the track and keep your car fast.
Who's your crew chief, and how's your relationship with them? How good do y'all work together?
Oh, we work great together. He's my crew chief and my spotter. I gotta say, he's one of the best spotter I've ever had. He's a great spotter. His name is JC Umpshide, and he owns Umpshide Race Services. So he's actually already down in Pensacola. He's been putting the car together for 2 weeks now since it got wrecked. Last time we were in Pensacola. So he's been working really hard getting the car back together. Got the setup on it. Got us ready to go to practice tomorrow morning.
Good deal. He's got the same mindset I had. I was the crew chief, and then when it was race time, I went up and spotted. Because if you're a crew chief sitting on the box, all you can see is the front stretch. But you get up there with the spotters where you can see the whole track, and you can see a lot more that's going on. You can see how your car's doing, what line other people are running through the corners, and if it's faster than your line. I've never really understood why Cup crew chiefs aren't the spotters. I mean, there's just not, other than the computer factor, there's just not a lot going on the box. I mean,
it's the cheerleader factor. You know, Steve. You know what it is. It's the cheerleader factor. You gotta have that encouragement, and that's what makes or breaks a lot of these crew chiefs. And you look at it with the Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. A lot of times, Chad or Jimmy is cheerleading the other. Both of them can get, quote, butt hurt and get out of whack, and a lot of times they're able to, find that peace of mind with each other. I definitely don't ever want anything like the Dale Jr. and Lance McGrew situation. That's no help to anybody. But a lot of times it is that jail factor. And I think that's where the engineering comes in now, where the crew chief, was the buddies. Look at Tony Eury Jr. and Dale Jr. Yeah. They wanted to always work together, and unfortunately, when pressure got big, they found that they would have more success separate. I'm not sure if Eury actually had very much success separate from Dale, but even the same, it's all about that jail factor. But definitely, even in the lower series where he's coming from, it takes that communication level with your crew chief. And I admire the fact that he would go up and actually spot races and do stuff like that, because that makes him a better driver. Don't you think so, driver?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he gets on me a little bit. You got to be strict. I can fit a bus in between you and the car under you. So, he's getting on me, but he's also coaching me, telling me to save tire, for longer races. You got to keep the tire under you, just helping me out, because he has a lot of experience as a driver as well. So that's awesome to have, too. He used to race late models and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just a great combination we have going right now.
Right.
That's a good deal. That kind of reminds me of when Timothy Peters was driving for me, Timothy was real anal about his car looking perfect and no dents and anything like that. I told him early on, I said, Timothy, I'll put right side sheet metal on this car every week. I said, but I ain't changing the left side sheet metal. That means somebody got under you in the corner and it got bent up because of that. And that's an easy way to tell him, don't let people get under you, hug that bottom line.
That's right.
And y'all were talking about Chad and Jimmy. They get upset sometimes, but most of the time they're real cool and calm on the radio. It's kind of like Jimmy could come on the radio and tell Chad, a meteor just landed on the hood of my car.
And Chad would be like, okay, now, Jimmy, now we know it wasn't a meteor. The odds of that actually happening are 1 in 1 million and a chance. But if you'll bring it on into pit road here in about 5 laps, we'll check out. Hey, calm him down. Calm him down. No meteor landed on the hood of your car, even though there was one there.
We'll fix it on the next caution. Don't worry, Dad.
Just calm down. We can rebuild a whole car in 10 seconds.
Absolutely. Off the beaten path, Ryan, who are you looking at to be good in the chase?
I haven't really been watching as much, races as I usually have, but can't go wrong with Gibbs right now. I mean, they're so fast. They were 1, 2, 3, 4 last week, if I remember right, at Richmond. So I'm gonna go. Yep. I got to pick one of them. I got to go with Busch. I mean, I think Kyle's the best pick to win right now.
Wow. I would so say Carl Edwards, or Denny Hamlin, but I mean, y'all are going with it. Y'all are going with the Kyle Busch factor. I just remind y'all, Kyle Busch is his own worst enemy.
Oh yes, I agree. I think he has a lot of motivation here this year, though, after what happened to him earlier in the year, and how he had that 4-race win streak, and he was so close to getting that 5th too. That was crazy.
And think about it this way too: we haven't heard very much meltdown from crew chief to driver, so maybe this has something. Maybe that has a lot to do with it too that we're overlooking. The communication between the driver and the crew chief.
Yeah, if you ever watching the races, if you ever listen to Kyle on the radio, he is, in my opinion, the smartest driver out there. He can tell his crew chief exactly what that car is doing, break the corner down into 3 seconds, and rate everything on a 1 to 10 scale. But he just has a good knack of being able to feel in the steering wheel and in the seat of his pants what his car is doing and how to relay that information in to get the right change made to make him even faster. And I was watching, I believe it was Pocono, and he was telling his crew chief, I think it was either Dale Jr. or Jimmy that he was racing side by side, and he's telling his crew chief how their car is handling and what they need to do to fix their car. I mean, the guy's just got a good eye for the track.
You just have to bleep out the adjectives in between.
Yeah. Well, Samantha will straighten him out on that.
It's been great having you on. Good luck to you this year as well.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Give a shout-out to anybody you want to recognize. Let them know you appreciate their effort, your sponsors and your crew and everything, even Eddie.
Yeah, I got to thank Eddie for getting me on. He does a lot of help for me as far as getting me on radio shows and stuff like that. But you got to thank First Choice House Leveling. They hopped on the car 2 races ago for Pensacola. Gill Engine Performance, they've been helping us out with our motors because that's not cheap, as y'all know. And we have a new sponsor coming on board for this race, Building Wealth Home Loans. So that's really cool. Hopefully we can, build some more sponsors and keep these going, build a relationship. Also thank my crew chief, J.C. Umscheid, and Umscheid Race Services once again. I think that's about it, and Brisk spark plugs.
Good deal. Like I said, you sound like you've got a real good crew chief that knows his stuff and is going to be able to help you advance and get you on down the road and into a higher series and everything. Tell us where we can follow you on social media so we can keep up with how you're doing, especially down there in the Snowflake.
Mainly, I update on my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/FlyingRyanLoserRacing. You can also just type that in Google. It'll bring up my website and the Facebook page as well. I don't really do Twitter that much, but I'm trying to learn it. It's kind of fuzzy for me. I'm not into that as much, but mainly Facebook. Just search Flying Ryan Loser and it'll pop up as well as my website.
Good deal. And I've got a Facebook group, NASCAR and Other Racing. I see stuff on you there all the time, so that's how I'm able to keep up with you more than anything else. I'm not a Twitter fan either. I don't work with it too much. I kind of stick with Facebook, stick with what I know. Facebook and Internet is the only things I really know how to do on the computer. But thanks again for coming on, Ryan. It's been a joy talking to you. Good luck down there in Pensacola this weekend. Take it to them and show them how it's done, bud, and keep us informed. And maybe we can talk to you while you're down there for the Snowflake and get an idea of what's going on there.
All right, sir. Thank y'all so much. That sounds great.
Good deal.
All right, bud. All right, Ryan, we'll talk to you later. Definitely want to talk to you around Snowflake time. Now, Chris, been a pretty interesting show tonight, eh?
Yes, sir, it has. Definitely. Always a good bunch of different places and people that we talk to. Man, it seems like we cover almost everything but straight line drag racing. I tell you what, that's a relief on my end because I don't know much about drag racing.
Me neither. Other than going a straight line.
Other than going in a straight line. I know they pick on us, and we're like, really? Dude, you go in a straight line.
you know my honest opinion about drag racing. I have a lot of respect for a lot of drag race drivers. John Force, prime example. Kenny Bernstein in my day. But my honest view of drag racing is qualifying. You're running against the clock. So to me, all you're doing is doing a line of qualifying because you're not racing to me, because racing involves rubbing and pits, and I'm sorry, but and no disrespect to those that like drag racing, but to me, all it is qualifying over and over and over again because you're really just going against the clock.
Yeah, and we have cars that can do 12.8 too. I seen that one the other day. I'm sorry I had to use that one. But, I mean, it's definitely something. It's racing, and I guess I don't want to take anything from them because I've heard Colin Cowherd say that race car drivers aren't athletes, and I beg to differ. If he had to drive a race car, he would definitely go home and probably have to have his shoulders prepped. So anybody that's wheeled one of these machines and wheels it for 500 laps, they have to have some kind of stamina. It's not like it used to be. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just thinking, especially in a dirt track car where you're steering so much with the car, I mean, you can get wore out in 50 laps in that if you're not in shape, and definitely if you're not used to it.
Oh, definitely, sir. I had a guest on last year's Slaughter Young. He was up from around the Midwest area, and he suffered a muscular dystrophy or something to that area, and his dream was always to drive a race car. And he finally got behind the wheel of one, and it was a modified, and it was specially made for him. And he explained that the amount of energy that it took, and of course, he has a deficiency, the amount of energy was almost exhausting. And he could only do it for a couple of years before he actually had to give it up. But he said that probably what alarmed him more than anything was the first time that he was in the car when he cranked it up and just heard the loudness of the explosion of noise that these cars make, it's heart thumping what our drivers on a weekly basis go through to have a little fun.
Yeah, definitely so. And if it's somebody that has a type of handicap and will still get out there and pursue their dream and still get out there and make the effort, my hat's off to those drivers especially.
Yeah. And how dare anybody say that they're not athletes? Because, I mean, any time a chess game, I guess, could be the test of one's mind, and how is that not, something that's athletic? I think that we missed the point on what is an athlete and what we're expecting from them, because only in this day and age do we have the primed athletes that we have now. Only now do people understand protein and calorie intakes and all this and build muscle mass but we had sports for a long generation before people even started the regimen that they have now. So it's really tough to not call somebody an athlete that has to go through any type of stamina.
Yeah, it's a lot of tension, also a lot of mental, and you're working your brain constantly in a race trying to evaluate what your car's doing and what your next move's going to be. And even crew chiefing that I was, it would, you're constantly thinking, you're going over everything. My guys would come to the shop on Monday morning, and the first thing they do is walk out. I drove the tow truck back and forth, the hauler, and they'd walk out to the hauler and turn the accessory on and see if the radio was on or not. And if the radio was off, they knew I had thought about that race all the way home. And if the radio was on, they knew I was relaxed and everything while I was driving.
Right. It is. It's a lot of times, even on our side, in the media side, it's stressful. I think that me and CJ were talking in the back room about Aaron coming on a few minutes ago. Anytime that you're in situations that you're not comfortable with or you're not used to, you have added pressure. So even in the business of the media side at a racetrack or any other event, at times you really have to what do you say? I mean, you have to kind of gulp it down and stick that chest out and do whatever it is that you're supposed to do, which is a lot of times applying yourself more than what some people ever do. I mean, it's amazing at the people who are sitting at home that really don't understand what it takes for people to get behind the wheel of a car or for them to be a part of a sport. But let me tell you something right now. The best thing to do is get off that couch and go get involved. There's a racetrack around you right now that would probably allow you to work in their concession stands. I mean, get involved. Start where you can, and that's how you do it. These drivers, they had to step in the car for the first time at one point in time. They weren't just born drivers. And if we can pass anything along, Steve, it's the fact of it is, if you're listening and you want to be involved, get involved. Go to your local track and become something. You can be a normal gas station guy Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday be everybody's hero. Whether you're racing the car or the guy who's standing at the box office selling you your ticket, telling you you're about to have the time of your life.
Now, I can remember my first face-to-face interview. I did a lot of, interviews over the radio, but I remember my first face-to-face. I did it last year. I got to do David Reagan and R.J. Mitty at the same time from Breaking Bad. And I tell you what, I don't think I ever sweated so badly. And I had 100 different things going in 100 different angles, and I just did not know what I was going to ask. And then we happened to be involved with Dylan Martin Racing, and they were doing a soda tab thing to raise money for the Shriners Hospital. And R.J. Mitty, gives credit to the Shriners Hospital for what they, for him having his career. And I just happened to overhear that, and I got to put the two and two together. And of course, David Reagan is highly involved with it as well. Aaron did a great job, and it was, I kind of know how she was feeling. It just, that was kind of where I was going at with that question, because she just seemed so calm with the doing on the video. But earlier we were talking about the chase and everything, and I wanted to ask one quick question because I didn't know this until today. And they were talking about the fact that the first race of the chase and the last race of the chase are two standalone races. In other words, this is the first and only time we're going to be at either one of those tracks. I don't know if you guys had caught wind of that or that some of you guys already knew and I was just the last to catch on. But one, how cool is it in NASCAR to do that and make both of those races going in and out of the chase interesting? And also, is that an advantage to anybody in the chase because there is so many unknowns for the race one and the final race at Homestead?
Well, it's they're standalone races, like you said, and that doesn't get a lot of wear, a lot of rubber on the track because it's only one time and it gets rained on and stuff like that. And the racing that when they first built those two tracks wasn't that great because it was fresh asphalt and everybody had plenty of grip and could drive where they wanted to and everything. But now that both tracks have got some age on them, the asphalt's aged a little bit, the grip factor's gone down. So when the grip factor goes down, it increases the driver's role in driving the car and making sure he can get that car through the corner without losing much time. So it just seems to improve a little bit every year. But I knew Homestead was a standalone race, but I didn't remember that Chicago was. Did you, Chris?
No, what I mean by standalone race is this is the only time we visit that track for the year. Not just it's the only Sprint Cup going to be there and none of the other series. I mean, Chicagoland and Homestead, this is the only time the NASCAR goes there this year.
Yeah, I know ARCA races Chicagoland, but I can't think of anybody else that goes.
Yeah, Xfinity does. They do it. As a matter of fact, I think the weekend that they race at Chicagoland is the weekend we get all excited because the Truck Series is in Iowa. I think that those two are kind of connected together in that same weekend. I'm not sure. I know the Xfinity Series is there, and I think that the race is actually the same day, and it's a Truck Series race. If I'm not mistaken, there may have been a driver this year that flew over from one to the other, but you'll have to facts check me on that. But being that Chicagoland is its only race of the year, I definitely think it kicks a screw around. But in reality though, it's probably just no different than any of the other 1.5 mile tracks. I hate to say that. I hate to be the intermediate guy, but it definitely comes down to that. I think Homestead is always a wild card. Homestead and Phoenix are the two totally different tracks, and I think Dover kind of throws something different at them. But for the most part, take away Martinsville and Talladega, you're pretty much dealing with the same tracks.
Yeah,
of course.
And they've got such a great notebook now that the crew chiefs and engineers keep, that they can adapt it from the minor characteristics that differ between 1.5 mile track and another. So it's,
I wonder what makes Homestead so different, Steve. I wonder why it's always that track that it's kind of a mystery track. We see people get hot at Phoenix. We watched Mark Martin do that for years. We're watching Kevin Harvick do it now. I think Jeff Gordon even was it Jeff Gordon? I don't know. I'm not sure if it was Jeff. Anyway, we've seen drivers get hot at Phoenix, and it seems to be like Pocono. If you have the good setup when you go there one time, you're going to have a good setup when you go back. But Homestead is always it's kind of iffy. It seems like it's nobody's track. Maybe Chicagoland falls under that category too.
A couple of years back, Jeff Gordon did get hot at Phoenix. He got hot with Clint Boyer, and they had that big Royal Rumble. That's the time he got hot
I was thinking about. Yeah, that's hot under the collar.
Yeah. I tell you what, I had so many non-NASCAR fans that caught that on ESPN, all of a sudden got sucked into that sport. They thought that was just the coolest thing, that not only we have a race, but we're going WWE style in the garage area as well.
I think Matt Kenseth made it even better the next year with the whole guy that jumps up on the rig and has the camera up in his hand. I tell you, that was athletic ability by a cameraman. The one where he chased Joey Logano back off into the alley or whoever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cameraman jumps up on the side of the rig with his camera over everybody, and I'm like, man, that is an athlete right there.
That extracircular activity that went on last year doing the chase, all the scuffling, and Matt Kenseth, who's about the last person you'd ever see at the track get mad, run down and jump on Bad Brad between the trailers.
Yeah, Bad Brad.
And Kevin Harvick, I can't remember who he pushed in the Jeff Gordon, and those two got the scrapping. So I like to see that extra stuff, and I'm sure a lot of the fans do too. But it makes it more than just a bunch of guys going around in circles. It really adds something to it. Something that.
Well, I read today that Dale Jr. said he was going to be aggressive in the chase, and you kind of wonder with Kevin Harvick's comments if Chevy's not trying to intimidate their way into being significant in this chase. I mean, it seems like with what I'm hearing, the rhetoric that I'm hearing, it seems to be that they are trying to build momentum up to be a force to reckon with in the chase. But I'm just not sure if the stats are going to back that up this year for them.
Yeah, I saw that article about Junior getting aggressive, and then I saw one later where they quoted Kevin Harvick as saying he was going to stomp all over JGR. So the mind games have started already. Even before the race starts, mind games are starting now.
Which is, like you said, it gives us something to talk about. It gives the fans something to get excited about. We've got a couple of night races where people are going to be sitting around the TV, and everybody knows we're battling football right now. The football season comes in, and we have to have something that makes this sport more exciting. That was the whole turn to the chase idea. I think that finally, after 8 years of a crappy chase, we finally got something going last year. I think that it finally kind of turned the page to what NASCAR was really looking for. That's why I was really, when they're talking about making changes to the chase again, you've got to be kind of hesitant. Okay, wait a minute. Let's see if this works first. Adding new tracks. I think adding a road course to the chase would be cool. There again, it's an elimination race. So what do? Race the road course at the last of the year? Now, I think that would be interesting if it was the last race of the year. But an elimination factor, it's kind of hard because then you may put out your best driver just because you typically don't go but to 2 road courses a year.
Yeah, I saw another post today that International Speedway Corporation couldn't get together on the figures and everything. They were trying to buy Laguna Seca Raceway, which is a road course in Southern California. And when I first heard that, I thought, well, this will be great. The France family buying a road course, and it'll get added into the chase. But like I said, they couldn't get together, couldn't work everything out. And from what I understand now, that deal's off. So
I think Talladega is the big enough wild card for the chase. Like I said, if you add the road course in, you're going to have to add it into the first race of the season. I think that would kind of get out your do's and your don'ts. But anywhere else placed into that scenario, I'm not sure if that's what NASCAR really wants, because though it does supply us good racing, you see a lot of conservative racing up until the change of the chase this year or last year. So I would hate to see conservative racing go back. I like them kind of being balls to the wall. And if you add more than one wild card into the factor, I think then you get a lot of conservative racing going on again. Just my opinion, though.
It's hard to be conservative at Talladega. You're in a wad of people all day long, and
I think it's a mindset at Talladega. They know what they're getting into. It's the wild card.
But, the big thing at Talladega is just staying near the leader and making it till the last 5 laps. And then, it's like you said, it's balls to the wall and do what you got to do to win. Well, guys, it's getting close to my bedtime, so
hey,
we'll
Steve.
Yeah.
Before we cut this out real quick, we got our input reporter trying to get back on, see what she's got to say real quick before we wrap this up.
Oh, yeah, put Erin back on. I want to hear her sing.
Are you there, Erin?
All right, I'm with y'all.
What you got for us?
Oh, well, after walking around and talking to a few of the drivers, I just wanted to give everybody an update. The track is actually working pretty good tonight. It's not slick or real rough at all. It's kind of going with the cars. We have a few cars that have found technical difficulties that they're going to have to fix. Ellie Hughes, she's having a few motor problems that she plans on getting fixed by tomorrow evening and be back into the show.
Oh, wow, I'm shamed. I'm an asphalt guy. I don't know that much about dirt, and Erin is definitely on top of it. I might have to get her to give me some lessons on track prep and everything.
Also, with walking around and meeting a few of the drivers and getting to look into some of the trailers, I've also noticed that Leon Henderson may be making a debut here at Why Not. He is not unloaded yet. I think he's kind of keeping her packed up tight, but Leon Henderson is at Why Not Motorsports Park.
That's a super late model. He'll be following the Mississippi State Championship Challenge Series. One of the actual local guys. It's not his debut. It's actually Leon got hurt a couple of years ago getting into the turn 3 wall, and it broke his wrist. But definitely good to see some of those super late models show up. And this is Erin Holly calling from Why Not Motorsports Park, in-pit reporter right now. Got a big race, the state championship race this weekend at Why Not Motorsports Park. If you're anywhere within the area, please come down and support your local tracks this weekend. Erin, thank you. You've done a great job. And has there been any wrecks or anything? Everybody seemed to be pretty good. How did Wiley Williams do in the modified?
He actually just went out a few minutes ago. He's timing and going pretty well around the track. The high side seems to be the choice for the night. Everybody's rolling pretty good. So far, no wrecks. A few technical difficulties, as I have said, have been found in a few cars that they're planning on fixing by tomorrow evening to get back into the show. But so far, everybody has been safe with their driving.
Good deal. Thank you. And you have a great night, Miss Erin.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Good deal. Thanks for calling in, Erin, and thanks again to our other 2 callers in. We appreciate that. We always like to have people call. If you're ever listening to the show and you got a question or a comment you want to make, feel free to call in. The number is 718-664-9861. I hope I said that clearly. Being a redneck, it's kind of hard for me to do that. Chris, go ahead and tell everybody how they could follow you and keep up with you and keep up with what's going on down there at Why Not and the other tracks you visit.
Well, of course, you can follow us at Chris Creighton, that's CREIGHTON on Facebook. Look up Yellow Caution Flag, and it should give you a list of stuff. Or you can just go to our website, yellowcautionflag.com. We have a nice little website there that has all the places. Hey, guess what? It's called a digital magazine, guys. That's right. It's just like a regular magazine, but it's on the digital side. Don't tell anybody our idea because, it is our kind of invention. But anyway, so you just go to yellowcautionflag.com, go to whatever link you'd like to see. We have some things categoried out, so it should lead you directly to where our news is. And if you're following us on Twitter, it's Flag of Caution, but I will tell you, Twitter is just a rollover of our Facebook account. So look us up either on the web or like I said, at Facebook, yellowcautionflag.com. Anywhere that you go and look up Yellow Caution Flag, you're going to find us. Google us at Yellow Caution Flag, and you'll find all of our stuff there as well. So, Steve, it's been great once again. Love being on the show. What you got for us next week?
Let me get my notes out here. I've got, I'm trying to get another one lined up, but I've got two local drivers to me. One's in North Carolina. Well, both of them are in North Carolina, and both of them drive late models up here. One of them's name is Harley Holden. He's had a pretty successful year. And the other driver we're going to have on is Travis Bird. Another one has been pretty successful, and I'm working on a third now, so CJ will have to block out a little bit more time so we can get all three of them on.
Yes, sir. I'll make sure that I schedule plenty of time for us.
Yeah, this was supposed to be an hour-long show, wasn't it? How you love my Herman laugh.
I thought I recognized that.
I've been working on it for a couple of years now. That's the debut of the Herman laugh. Somebody's got to do it with Steve Burns gone.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody's got to pick up that slack. CJ, let everybody know how they can follow you and about your thing.
You guys can check out my show Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. It's the 110 Nation Sports Show. Also, follow me on Twitter at CJSports1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation, and you guys check out our website over at www.the110nation.com.
Hey, CJ, I think you forgot about that new group you created, too.
Yeah, you guys make sure you guys check out our Facebook group, the 110 Nation. It is just a group for everybody, all kinds of sports fans to come and talk about all the hot topics, debate about certain things going on in your sports. As the group gets bigger, we're going to have live game threads and live race threads as well, just to let fans be able to talk about whatever games they want to talk about and whatever sport events going on. Between now and the end of the month, between now and September 30th, if we can get that group to be 250, we're going to give out a $25 Visa gift card to one of our members, just to kind of say thank you and help them, take care of Halloween or whatever the case may be coming up.
Cool deal. Awesome. Love you guys, man. This is awesome. Y'all have made a really good show, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Well, we're glad to have part of it, Chris, and I'm glad to have CJ on here. Y'all really add a lot to the show.
I'm just glad to be able to sit here.
But Steve, we did come from another network, so we both of us have come from another network, and we found a good little home right here with CJ Sports and the 110 Nation Sports. I love it.
You too.
I just feel honored to be able to sit in the presence of both you guys. Chris, what you guys got going on, it's an inspiration for the 110, and Steve, with your extensive background, I just get the honor and privilege to even listen to the stories, and I got to watch that video of Fats that you passed on to me, and I enjoyed that video and passed it on actually to the website so other people can enjoy it. I feel like I'm the one that's getting to take advantage of a great opportunity here, and I thank both you all.
Yeah, definitely so. And since you brought it up, I want to mention it. A guy that I worked with at Hendrick Motorsports and worked with him extensively on the Days of Thunder movie. As a matter of fact, me and Fats roomed together for the 3 or 4 months that we worked on that movie. So you're sitting in a motel room at night, you get to learn your roommate pretty good. But Mike Jarrett, who we used to, his nickname was Fats because he was kind of like a bowling ball with tennis shoes. He was a really round guy. They'd have called him Fats or Spanky from Spanky on the Our Gang shows, for those of y'all that are old enough to remember that. But Fats passed away, I think it was a week ago, this past Sunday. And it brought back a lot of memories, but it really made me sad. And Fats, I miss you, buddy. Rest in peace, and I'll see you one day. Bud. All right. While we're on the social media deal, if you want to follow me You can check me out on Twitter at Big Sweat, where I'm the NASCAR heartbreaker and home wrecker. My Twitter experience usually just boils down to me putting jokes on there and getting replies and stuff. But really, my main social media deal is my Facebook group, NASCAR and Other Racing. And the other racing part, we really try to emphasize, like I said, like you've seen tonight, we cover dirt racing, asphalt racing, local short track racing.
Probably one of the only few, I hate to interrupt you, but probably one of the only few radio shows that can actually perfect that. I mean, we've gone outside the box, and we're doing really good at it. My bad.
Yeah, it's worked out really good, and I'm just glad to be able to do it. Short track racing, local track racing is just the racing that I love the best. That's the racing I want to support. And so I'm going to do everything I can to support both the tracks and the drivers, the guys that work a 9-to-5 job and then eat supper and go out in their shop and work a couple hours to get ready for the weekend. Those are the people we try to recognize and we try to promote. So stick with us, listen in. We'll have another show like that. If you want to get more involved, join my group, NASCAR and Other Racing. We don't allow any profanity. We don't allow any bashing of drivers or anything. We're a very family-oriented group. We have quite a few drivers under the age of 18 that are in our group. And our group, our female section of the group has really gone. I'd say it's getting, close to 50-50 as far as the women and the men that are in there. We have a lot of drivers on there, both male and female. We run race threads every time there's a televised race, whether it's drag racing, Formula One, Indy cars, NASCARs. If it's on television, we've got a bunch of group members that are all hooked up on their computers talking about the race and talking about who they like and who they don't like and everything. So it's really interesting. So get in the group and come join us and check it out. We do a lot of informative and intellectual discussions about racing, and that's what we try to do. We try to educate people more on racing, because the more they know, the more they get interested, and the more they're going to support it.
So true. That is so true.
Guys, I appreciate you teaming up with me tonight, and all you listeners out there, I appreciate you tuning us in. Pass the word to your friends, and check back with us next Thursday at 9 o'clock until who knows when, until we get tired of talking about it. Thank you again, everybody. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week. Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Y'all.